Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to my From the Depths tutorial series. Now, as you might know, From the Depths has added in an advanced projectile system that adds advanced cannons, which are a lot more complicated than the custom cannons that came before it. Because of that, I'm not going to be getting into anything too advanced with it. I'm just going to be showing you the bare basics to get a semi-functioning cannon that will be able to put rounds down range. Won't be the best thing ever, but it'll work. Now, just ignore that. That's just a little something I threw together in just a couple minutes just to see how it would work. But this is a little example of something that you might build. It's not very well optimized. I didn't put much thought into it. But it has 4 barrels. It's uses a mantlet. We'll talk about that later. That allows it to fire almost straight up in the air. And has a decent fire rate. Not too bad. But, yeah, that's the thing about the advanced cannons, just kind of jumping ahead a little bit. It's going to be a lot more difficult to get the super fast fire rate that you got with the the custom cannons, rather. It's just not going to be as practical anymore. Like the super high gauge and super high fire rate. You really can't have both unless you build this gigantic monstrosity. That just wouldn't be practical. But I know this may be really confusing just looking at all this, but let's just start a new cannon and we will see what happens. So I'm just going to delete this and just push it into the ocean. Get out of here. Yeah, that's right. Get the hell out of my neighborhood. Alright, so there's that. To start, this is also a new thing. You can custom design your shells. I'll go over the parts really quick here. This is an ammo controller. Under advanced cannons, all this stuff here that you see in front of me is under this tab. The ammo controller, as it says in the description, it's used in conjunction with the ammo customizers to create ammo. The ammo customizers are your shell. It's how you design your shell. Each block that you place has 2 shell parts. I'll show you what I mean here in a second here. See right here, this is one block, and there's 2 compartments on the shell, and this is what it looks like when we enter the shell editor, which is used by hitting Q on either the customizer or the ammo controller. It shows you all sorts of different parts that you can use. I know this might be a little overwhelming, but fear not, we will talk about this in depth probably a bit later in the later episode. But for now, we'll just introduce you to it. This is what I have going on. I've got a squash head on it. It concentrates high explosive damage across the whole, not armor piercing. It's made for spalling and destroying large chunks of wall. And spalling is how to describe it. It's basically sending material from the inside of the wall ricocheting around on the inside as shrapnel. That's what the squash head does. And that's why I have these HE warhead bodies directly behind it, and all these gunpowder casings to jack up the velocity. We'll talk about this in depth later. Don't worry about it too much. For now, all you need to know is you need an ammo controller and ammo customizers on the whole. And then these shell parts. These shell parts are what actually provide the material to create the shells, and in turn, shell parts are created from ammo in the storages that you have on your ship or fortress or whatever structure you have. So the ammo is converted into shell parts, and then the shell parts are converted into the actual shells, which are loaded into the clips or magazines that are attached to the turret. Now, on top of your shell parts, or on the side, I think they attach on the side, are these ammo output feeders. These ammo output feeders, as it says, supply ammo to the input feeder, which we'll talk about later. The input feeder is something that is on the turret. I'll show you that in a bit. Via a transport tube, connects to the ammo system on its back face. So for now, all you need to know is put ammo output feeders on your shell parts, and yeah, we'll get more into that later when we talk about ammo input. But this is basically all we need to create shells. So we're going to go over here to this turret. I'm going to start constructing. I'm just going to start with a couple 6-way connectors going up. An advanced firing piece is needed to start this off. It's, the counterpart of the regular firing piece. It's what's used for advanced cannons. As it says here, mantlets and barrels go directly in front of it, and gauge increasers go directly behind it. There's more than just gauge increases. We'll talk about them in a bit. But let's talk about mantlets. Without a mantlet, let me just demonstrate a little bit here. You won't be able to look around. The barrel will be stationary except where, the turret can actually turn to. So if it's a one-axis turret, you'll only be able to look around like this. Now, the mantlet is a pretty cool thing. Get out of here. What the mantlet lets you do, depending on the style that you grab, let's grab just this as a little example, a 1-meter Omni mantlet. Now we have that. Let's just throw some barrels. Now anywhere, now the barrel starts in the center of the mantlet, and the barrel can move to any part of that mantlet. Here, let me do a little demonstration for you. You see, there you go. It's a little hard to see, but you get the picture. The barrel can move around anywhere on the mantlet, on the face of that mantlet. So it allows you to get a lot more range than you would normally. There's several different kinds. There's some really big ones, like this. Kind of awkward looking, if you ask me. Oh, these ones. Yeah, these ones will let you look almost straight up. These are really nice. As you can probably tell, it's an AA mantlet. Very high elevation. You don't have a lot of turning. You don't have a lot of left and right movement with it. But, you're attached to a turret. But it lets you look almost straight up in the air. It's amazing for anti-air turrets. So, that's a little bit about mantlets. Just know that they go directly in front of the firing piece. That is where they go. That is where they are happy. We'll talk a little bit more about the barrels later. But for now, let's just throw on a basic 1-meter Omni mantlet. And we'll add the barrels later. We'll talk about that in a bit. For now, let's add in some more of these 6-way connectors, and we'll show you how to actually load ammo into this. Now, I'm just going to make this really spread out so it's really easy for you guys to see what I'm doing. Nothing stopping you guys from making this a lot more compact and efficient. I'm just showing you how to do the basics. Alright. So, what we need to do, first and foremost, is you have these autoloaders. Now, there's different sized autoloaders depending on the size of the shell that you're going to be using. And you also need to match up a clip to whatever sized autoloader. Now, how do you know what size autoloader you need? Why, you go over here. This part on the bottom gives you all the information you need about your cannon based on the diameter of the shell that it will be. So length of shell rack needed, that is the information that we need to know. So with a shell diameter of 0.06 meters or 60 centimeters, we'll only need a shell rack of 1 meter. And that's fine with me right now for this purpose right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in an autoloader. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. Doesn't really matter. Just showing you guys what's going on. Like one, fuck you. We'll go back here. Like one there. We'll do this. We'll just rock this for now. Actually, let's just add it to the end. And then from there, you attach clips, or magazines to the autoloader. The more you have, the faster it will fire. See, as it says up there in the top, 0 shells in 1 shell rack, 1 times faster loading due to multiple clip inputs. Basically, the more clips you have in your autoloader, the faster it will fire. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. I don't know. It just gives it more shit to throw down range. So that looks pretty decent. Now this is where the ammo input feeder comes into play. Now for every one input feeder, you're going to need one output. So it's a 1-to-1. So you need to make sure you have enough output feeders for however many input feeders you're going to have. Let's go ahead and throw these down. These attach to clips. The more you have on the clips, the faster the clips will load up, and the faster you'll be able to fire, is basically what that means. Now, again, I just want to stress that this is by no means the most efficient way to do things. It's just a quick and dirty way of showing you guys how to do this, because it is a lot more complicated than the custom cannon system. Now, I'm sorry I keep hitting pause on the video because I'm getting over the flu and I still have a pretty bad cough. I don't want to cough in your guys' faces, so I'm just muting it every time not muting it, but pausing the video every time I cough, so as not to be annoying as fuck. So just bear with me. That's why I haven't been around lately. The flu sucks ass. I sounded like Batman for the longest time. Not even kidding. Alright, so we've got 2 autoloaders with clips sticking out every which way. What you do next is you press Q on an input feeder, and you get this screen here. Ah, yes, that's right, I forgot. Another block that you need are called ammo routers. This is one right here. You need one on the structure that the ammo customizer is on, and you need one actually on the turret. It doesn't matter where you put it, it can go anywhere, but I'm just gonna put it right here. As soon as I can get there, right there. Alright, so now when I walk up to this and I hit Q, we have this. And what you do is you can left click on that, and for now just click assign all unassigned intakes to this ammo source. Bam. Alright, and now rounds, you can even hear it being loaded in. Rounds are being manufactured at that station there and being transferred into the clips. And it's really kind of cool because you can actually see your shells inside of there. However you designed it over here, it'll be just a mini version of that with the actual size of the shell just sitting in there for you. It's pretty sweet. Now next we're going to add the... well, first of all, what I like to do generally with turrets, if you want to make it faster, you can increase the number of barrels that you have. It goes all the way up to 6, and it will decrease the size of the shell, but it'll oftentimes allow you to fire faster. Now, I'm still kind of new to this as well. I'm still learning this. It's a fairly new system, but I want to say that the number of barrels you have is the number of autoloaders you should have. I don't know what happens if you have like 6 autoloaders and 3 barrels. It might just be a little bit of a waste, not sure. But I do know that having like 1 autoloader for 4 barrels would not be good. So just try to keep the number of barrels and autoloaders even. Having more autoloaders probably won't hurt. It probably might actually help increase the fire rate now that I think about it. We'll do an experiment with that in a later video. But for now, I'm going to rock 2 barrels. And then we're going to bring this over here, and we're going to look at a couple more stats at this ammo controller. This also gives you an optimal barrel length for accuracy and for propellant burn. Now, the more gunpowder you have, the longer it's going to say that it needs to be. Now, if your barrel is, say, 5 meters, it's good enough for the accuracy, but it's not going to burn all the propellant. And what that's going to do is it's going to slow down your reload time, your cooldown time. So the optimal barrel length for this, you got to round up. It's 7 meters. So our barrel needs to be 7 long, is what that means. Yeah, actually, before we do that, I'm mistaken. I apologize. I'm kind of out of it for being sick. You can mouse over the mountlet, and it says shell diameter 0.03. What that means is we can go over here, since again we're using dual barrels, so the shell diameter is going to be smaller. So you can just 0.03, Now this, you see everything changed. Our optimal barrel length needs to be 4 meters long, so it's going to be a lot smaller than what it was before. So we're just going to go ahead and add these barrels, 3, 4, and then a bore evacuator. What the bore evacuator does, it's just a part of the barrel that, I'll just pull up the description for you. It provides a modest reduction in cooldown time, but presents a weak point in the barrel. You know, it's just that. It helps cool down. So if you put it at the end, it doesn't really make much of a difference, because if it gets destroyed, it's at the end of the barrel. The whole barrel won't fall off. But let's just see how fast this fires. Alright, see, it's firing 2 shells right at once. It's pretty cool. And then you see, when you're following the shell, there's a couple new things. Time fuse and alt fuses. We'll get into that in a more advanced video. Just know that there's ways to actually make functioning flat cannons now in the game. It's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do for this is, I'm just going to create a little 0.2 and see how this goes. Now, another thing we can add, if we want, these need to go directly out of the back of the firing piece, are cooldowns and gauge increases. Let's see here. We've got gauge increases and these splitters left and right. I'll show you what the splitter does really quick here. G. You can't bring things back, but now if you want to, this would be good for compact designs, you can go up and down with it. I don't really care about that in this application, so let's just add some of these cooling units in. This will reduce the cooldown of the weapon and allow us to fire faster. There's 2 things that will affect the fire rate of your cannon. The speed of which the autoloaders can actually feed ammo into the firing piece, and the cooldown time of the weapon. There are ways to get around it. It's called overclocking. The overclocking time allows firing before the cooldown period is finished. However, firing before it's properly cooled down increases the recoil and decreases the accuracy. So that's just something to think about. May or may not be something that you want to do with your turret. So what the problem is, there a little bit of a stutter. Oh god! I don't know if you noticed before, but the cooldown has gone down to like 0.31 seconds. Before it was like 0.47. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to change the fire delay to 0.31, and it will match the cooldown, 0.31. And now when we fire this bad boy, it'll be a bit more steady. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but again, basic cannon for your building needs. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do with this. You can build railguns. There's railgun parts. All these do, we're basically done here for the very basic stuff. I don't want to talk about anything else really. But basically the railgun will add extra velocity. The funny thing is, when this first came out, I managed to build a cannon that was not a railgun with a velocity of like 3.5 kilometers an hour. Kilometers a second, was it? Yeah, like kilometers per second. Something ridiculously fucking fast that was basically a railgun without actually the railgun parts. So if I add the railgun parts to that turret I made, it'd be even faster. Little thing about railguns, they fire a lot slower, but they're really good at just punching all the way through ships. So they're really good for like sniping out parts of like key parts of a ship, like shooting out the AI or hitting the ammo. So that's just about it for this bare bones basic starting tutorial on the advanced projectile system. I hope this helped you, and we will talk about this more in the next video. Until next time, this is Ryan from Stromboli Games, signing off. Thank you for watching.